Everyone relax. This is Tofop. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
Will, I'm not relaxed. In fact, I'm furious.
Good.
Can we just stop
Great.
things down to get into some talkback radio
Beautiful. Love it.
type shit? Because it's fresh on my mind. It's just happened. A bit of context. Gemma's away. She's away for quite a few weeks, so I'm solo dadding at the moment. It always feels weird to say so I'm parenting. It's because it's kind of a given. But
It implies that you're not parenting when she's around.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
clock off. You're back. I'm not parenting anymore. I will resume parenting when you leave.
People use the term daddy daycare, stay-at-home dad, whatever. That is me right now. But it's been off to a rough start because literally I had the biggest day scheduled for Thursday. We had multiple records. I had a bunch of meetings and stuff. And I remember I couldn't shift a lot of this stuff around. And I remember saying to Jem, "Oh God, that's the first day you're gone." Well, as long as nothing goes wrong on that Thursday,
The famous words. As long as nothing goes wrong. So what went wrong?
So I woke up to a message from Iona's daycare that there has a bug has just ripped through daycare, and they're like all their staff are out. And if it is possible to keep your child home today, please do that.
I mean, I would have thought it would be absolutely fine if there's a bug at the local daycare, considering the high rates of vaccination in the local area.
Yeah, not so good, mate. Not so good.
There's a bit of a bug going around. Have you heard of polio?
So I was very close to texting you and our producers and just saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to have to scramble this day." But then Jem, because she's the master organizer I don't know how she managed to do this, whether she was in transit or on a plane with Wi-Fi, managed to organize a friend of ours whose daughter goes to school with Iona to say, "Hey, could you come and grab Iona for a few hours?" Which was a godsend.
Right.
I got like 60% of my work done. And Iona had a great time with a friend. They, had they went to a circus school and the library and the beach and all this great kind of stuff.
And based on your earlier definition, that meant that for those couple of hours, your friend was technically Iona's parent. She was doing the parenting.
Exactly. she was doing the parenting. So anyway, I get Iona home that night and she complains that she's got a bit of a headache. I'm like, okay, well, they're out in the sun and running around. Maybe it's been a sunstroke. So I give her a bit of Panadol. And then that night she comes in and she's really ill, like feverish and all kinds of stuff, and wakes up in the morning complaining about having a sore neck, which within a kid is not a great sign, because it could be meningitis if they complain about having like a stiff neck. When you and I do it, it's because we're old men. When a kid does it, it's a serious thing. So,
I mean, I think it was the words of the Wu-Tang Clan who said, "You've got to protect your neck." Yeah. That's the one thing you know about both a baby and a toddler. You got to protect the neck.
Well, that's a problem. I'd listened to too much Busta Rhymes, who was all about breaking your neck.
Yeah.
So I got it completely back to front. So just to be safe, I had to take her to a hospital just to make sure, get her tested and stuff. Turns out she's fine. There's a bug. She had the bug that was going around the daycare center. So a couple of days of her being unwell. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's good. We get to the weekend as long as I don't get anything. And then I woke up this morning with a fucking headache. I'm like, oh my God.
How's your neck?
Why do you mock me, Lord? Meanwhile, I get a text from Jem saying, hey, I had a couple of days in LA before I had to fly down to, where she's going to work. And she said, and my friend, they've invited me to Cape Cod because her boyfriend has, he's an engineer and he's built a rocket they're blasting into outer space. So I'm just going to go do that. I'm like, all right, awesome. So you go to watch a rocket
being blasted into outer space, and I will watch some vomit being blasted across the bathroom.
I will watch diarrhea be launched into the toilet bowl at a rapid pace. So I'm feeling okay. I've taken some Panadol. I've leveled out, and I was like, Iona was feeling up and about, and I was like, well, this is a good sign. That means a kid's back. Once
quick recovery.
Yep. Quick recovery. So we go to the park. And she's playing around with play equipment, and I'm sort of sitting there just because I'm feeling a bit queasy. So I'm not getting involved. I'm sitting to the side, just trying to keep fluids inside my body. And then I see this little boy about 2 years older than Iona, talking to Iona. And Iona's like, I'm not a baby. I'm not a baby. So I wander over and I say, what's going on? And she's like, he's calling me a baby. And this little, I'd say he's 5 years old. He's like, well, you are a baby. And I said, well, I said, she's not a baby. She's a toddler. But I can understand, from your perspective, because you're a bit older, that she looks like a baby. And then this little boy's brother gets on, who's probably a year younger than him, but still older than Iona. And he's like, she is a baby. And so I'm like, okay, let's turn this into a game. I'm like, well, you know what? To me, you're all babies because I'm older than you. So you're all babies, trying to kind of bit of. I thought that was going to settle things down. Well, it didn't.
Did it?
These kids took great offense.
Yeah, no.
To me turning the tables on.
I've got to be honest with you, Charlie. That feels like something I might say to a kid because I don't have to deal with the fallout of the situation. It sounds exactly like the sort of thing that I would lobby in. But I would have thought you, with some parenting experience, must have known that there was a little fire burning there, and the best way to put it out wasn't add petrol to it.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, especially when you're dealing with little boys who tend to be like, a bit more kind of bolshy. Like, if you you don't want to back down. You kind of want to like throw a little, petrol on the fire because they're like, oh, I respect it. I like the cut of your moxie. You're going to call me baby. And then it becomes a game. It's like, oh, like, we're all babies. And then I thought maybe we could start like calling everyone babies. And it's the, it's the Lenny Bruce.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. If we just keep using the B word, then the B word has no power, and you've just got to demystify the B word.
Exactly. I was trying to demystify
the
B word.
Like, you know what it is, guys? It's the Chris Rock approach. Is you just say, I like young people, but I hate babies.
Yeah. So it seemed to work for a while because all the kids were laughing about being babies and stuff. Yeah. But then these boys just got back on their you're a baby kind of thing. And
this is a classic generation wars, though. This is the equivalent of, people like mocking the boomers or, all these sort of things. Like, it's just, they're closer together in age, but percentage-wise in their life, a 5-year-old's at a very different place to a 3-year-old. And it does feel like a generational shift, I imagine, from like what you're getting about being able to do at 3 versus what you can do by yourself at 5. It probably feels like an entire generation has passed by.
Yeah, so I could see it going downhill. So I tried to sort of shift the narrative again because this play equipment, it's kind of shaped like a ship. And so I said, well, you're not babies. You're all a bunch of pirates and you're on this ship. And what are you going to do? Is that a blue whale out there? Trying to kind of distract them. But the offense was caused and these boys were now like intent on like making us pay. And so I'm sitting at the bottom of the slide with Iona in my lap and these two boys are standing at the top of the play equipment. And there's a little kind of loudspeaker thing on the play equipment. You can go up and you can just... And so they start hurling insults out. First, they called me a duck's bum bum.
Hang on. So do they like direct it specifically at you? Like, how do they,
100%.
Say that old man is a duck's bum bum, or like, how do you know?
I'm only about 2 feet away and they're facing me.
And so it's like, you're a duck's bum bum.
You're a duck's bum bum. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And then I can't remember the other insults, but they were all around about, I called me an idiot at one point. Yeah. He said, you're a dumb idiot.
Did you say that's ableist? I said that's really inappropriate in the year 2023 to use an outdated terminology. Like, I'm fine with duck's bum bum. Absolutely fine with that. But idiot, no thank you. Your generation's meant to be better than this.
Well, I thought I'd take the high road. And so they're hurling out these insults. And I started saying to Iona, this is not great behavior. This is bad manners. Like we don't yell things out at people because I thought it could be a good teaching moment. But that just fired them up because they were getting a reaction because clearly I was like trying to change the narrative again. And so they're yelling and yelling and yelling. And I'm like, this is fine. We'll just extract ourselves from the situation. And then I get up to take Iona away, and one of the kids takes a mouthful of water and spits it on us.
Oh,
and I'm like, holy fucking shit. What? And I see these two mums chatting just to the side, and I'm like, oi! I'm like, are these your kids? And this mum turns around and's like, yeah, that's my boys. And I said, well, one of them just spat water on us. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's gone, whatever his name was, give me the bottle.
Jaden.
And I'm standing there, I'm waiting for like an apology or this kid to get yelled at. Nothing. She just goes back to talking to her friend. And Iona's kind of upset because she's got like water on her little dress. And I'm just like, fucking hell. And I'm feeling sick. And so I'm like, no, fucking, I'm going to fight. And then I'm like, don't do it, man. Like,
punch the kid. You should have punched the kid.
Mate, I was Well, I didn't want to punch the kid. Kids are kids. No. I wanted to go up to this mum and say,
spit water in her face. No, you've got to go up with some water and you've got to spit it in her. You've got to say
Triple H style.
You've got to say, firstly, you ma'am, you are a Dux Bum Bum. You should say that. And then you take a giant swig out of your water bottle that you carry with you everywhere and you spit it in her face. And then you say, by the way, I've got the bug that's going around.
I should have thought of that. I didn't know. Like, I actually was like, well, I have to be a good example. So I took Iona away and I said, this is what happens when you get into a situation like this and you don't like it. I say, you either tell an adult or you extract yourself. And she's going, yeah, but you told that adult nothing happened. I'm like, that's why we're extracting ourselves. But, like, did I do the right thing? Should I have gone up to the mum and said, hey, excuse me, I'm not sure you realize what your son just did, or am I being too sensitive?
Well, firstly, here's what I would say. When I wade into the arena of how parents deal with other parents about their children, it is very easy for me to make grand pronouncements on the topic because I have no stakes in the game. So
I would even say that from parent to parent.
This ain't dad pod.
I do not know this.
I can't bring you I can't bring you some OSHA researched advice on what the best way to walk our way through this conversation is. Deal and diffuse with anger. I don't have any research. We can't now go to an expert. I don't know how. Even if I had an expert, I can't on my old Zoom get a phone call through to the podcast. That's OSHA's territory. I'm your idiot friend who's just going to say, normally, Charlie, the most fun I ever have on this podcast is like trying to point out where you did the wrong thing. But I feel like you've handled this pretty well. I got to be honest with you. I can't.
It wasn't satisfying though.
No. And that's why. That's why you handled it the right way. Because if it was satisfying, if you walked away feeling like you had some sort of victory, then you would have stepped over some line to get to that point that in the moment you would have felt good about. But I guarantee you would have kept thinking about. And after a while you were like, you know what? I should not have spat my water into that woman's face.
Well, here's a weird thing, isn't it? Because I was rationalizing because I was feeling so angry and I was rationalizing it as I was walking Iona to the car. And I'm like, look, I don't know what this kid's situation is. I don't know what his neurodiversity status is. I don't know.
Don't know what the family situation is. That's right.
I don't know if she's under a lot of pressure at home and this is just one more thing she can't fucking deal with. But part of me really wanted to parent shame. I really wanted to say, come on. All it took was a correcting of the behavior on the spot. But it didn't
spitting is the way. So for me, like the name calling and all those sort of things,
that's fine.
That all makes sense to me. But spitting is such a horrendous insult as an adult in society that I just don't think that you want to normalize something like that early on. I mean, all that shit talk that they immediately went to will serve them well in the era of the internet. Like they're going to be prepared for the world, What you should do when you are confronted by anyone you disagree with is find a loudspeaker and immediately start hurling insults. They are ready for the internet, right?
But that's like Twitter crash.
Yeah, but spitting at people, that is you see it on in public, in protests, people spitting at police. You see it at sporting events. It's still seen as something that is genuinely crossing a line. We've decided that is that's really dodgy and you shouldn't do that. So the idea that they spat on a stranger, I would be not wrapped if I don't care if some kid calls me a bunch of insults, but if some kid spat on me, particularly knowing the grot factories that children are, I'd be like, no, hang on. You as a parent should be stopping your you know what I mean? If my dog went up and weed on someone's leg, I would
I'd run the other. In fact, that did happen when Junior was around. He sprinted across an oval to wee on a woman on a walking frame, and I have never walked in the other direction so fast in my life.
I mean,
pretend that I didn't see it.
In that case, you knew you were going to get away. Right. Yeah.
Maybe it's karmic justice. Maybe it's taken 20 years for
that old woman probably put a curse on you that day and said, one day you're going to get revenge. Or I like the idea that the old woman in that situation, you decide to run away because she's in a walking frame and she just grabs the walking frame, starts running towards you and bashes you with the walking frame.
Well, yeah. So it was just one of those things where you know that you have done the right thing, but you can't help but feel like, did I stand up for myself enough? Did I create change in this moment? What could I have done this better? But
okay,
then,
let's role play through the scenario again, and I'll just give you my gut instincts on how I would have handled each situation. And I'm not going to think about it.
Am I me and you're the mum?
No, no. Let's go back. Let's go back to the kid situation. So I'm you in this scenario. You're Iona for the start, but you're going to have to play all the characters. You're going to have to play Iona, and then you're going to play the boy. So I'm playing you. I'm the person who has to deal with the circumstances as they've arisen. So you start by telling me what's happened. What's happened?
Okay. Daddy, that boy called me a baby.
Oh.
She is a baby. You are a baby.
Well, excuse me, boy. She's not a baby. She's a toddler. In fact,
you're a bum head.
Well, you're a little cunt, aren't you? So,
Mom, Adam Hills called me a cunt.
It's probably not even your real mum. I don't know. Is that your mum? Where's Dad? Is he around? What's going on?
Clearly not. Okay. I mean, I know you're joking, but that's fucking good. I really wish I'd gone to that.
Just really get in the head of the kid.
I mean, it's weird too, because it's kind of like, you probably must experience this all the time. You're a stand-up comedian who's used to dealing with hecklers. So it's kind of like that thing of you're a trained killer. And when someone is giving you shit and there's 10 ways to dismantle them, but you can't do it because, you're a trained killer. That's what it is with children. They're saying all this kind of shit to you. And it's like, mate, I could tell you that your father left for a reason, but what does that do in the long run?
So that is the best example to get me inside the head that anyone's ever given me, because that is how I live all the time. I constantly live in this world of whenever anybody, an amateur in public, is trying to start something, I secretly know that I could go in and just really destroy their day, really break them down to the bone in a really entertaining way for everybody else. And I choose not to. And that is what being a parent must be like constantly when you're dealing with kids.
Yeah. Yeah. When other people's kids.
That's what I mean. When you're around, that's what I mean. When you're around other kids, you're like, I could destroy you easily. Yeah. Hey, just it'd be so easy to just go around going, because I've got no stakes in the game, right? Absolutely no stakes in this game. Some little 5-year-old says to me, oh, she's a baby. And you're like, what are you? You're a baby as well. I'm not a baby. I was like, do you believe in Santa Claus? Yeah. Well, Santa Claus isn't real. Neither is the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy. Good luck with the rest of your day. And by the way, if you're a parent who's upset that I said those things on this podcast 2 minutes after I said the C word, then that's your fault your that you have this out loud.
Yeah. But the flip side of that is, you're right. You have all this ammo and you can't use on these kids. But the flip side of that is your own kids have all this emotional ammo on you, and they only have to say one thing and it fucking destroys you. So it's it really is what do they call it? Everyone's just stockpiles their weapons. It's so no one shoots that first nuke. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Everyone's pointing a gun at everybody else, and as long as nobody puts the gun down, we're all fine.
To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.